Alrighty, hello and welcome to Lightning Returns. I will be describing the normal percent run as I go along. Unfortunately, the original audio for the run does have a lot of background noise, so I will have to talk over this. To keep it from getting too dull, I do have some of the OST in the background. But let's jump right in. First of all, I switch the sensitivity to 5. Makes the camera movement a little better. And we just start on whatever open file we have. Timer starts when we select new game. Skip 2 cutscenes and we get to our first tutorial battle. Straightforward strategy. Thunder, 2 blizzards, 5 thunders, that means stagger. Be sure to perfect time everything. Light guard to cancel your backflip animation on the 5th spell. And attack 4 times with Dark Muse for maximum damage. Now ideally you want to fight one of these niblets first, whichever one just floats towards you. But they go down in either 4 or 5 thunders. 4 thunders if your rolls are good with respect to damage. But the time loss is minimal. Now, for this Anubis, instead we are going to stagger him ASAP. So to do that, we need to perfect guard his attack. Once done, we try and simply attack him with Dark Muse's attack as much as possible. And those are the first 3 or 4 tutorial battles. So as a little shortcut, we just jump over this ledge, preferably the first try. Don't need any tutorials, so we skip and continue on. A lot of this run will just involve straightforward running. Not really much tech you can use. Just hug the walls. Don't get too close or lightning might do this sort of push off animation which loses a few seconds. So when running, be sure to never deplete your running ATB to empty. It takes twice as long to recharge, and you will see it by that sort of red bar recharging. But most of the time I'll be pushing it to about halfway before I decide to let go and walk so it can recharge at a good and steady pace. But we get to our first tutorial boss. Xaltis is Thunder, 2 blizzards, 5 thunders for a stagger. And it's a little tricky to time your attacks here, but 2 attacks, guard cancel, and then you just unleash your overclock. Because this is a tutorial, we do get our full 5 EP as soon as the battle starts. But we just keep outputting that damage. And typical fights usually ended at around 19 seconds. You see I have my mouse here, so... Well, I suppose you don't see. Looks like I don't have cursor enabled. But that's okay. I'll try and describe as best as I can what's going on. But off we go to the Ark. So we want to start off by running backwards and picking up each of our 4 treasure cubes. Just be sure to skip the cutscenes as they come up. For now, you don't need to discard a potion. There is a gil route right now that gets you just enough gil for all the purposes we need. But after these 4 cubes, you run to this bookcase. And we get back to the Zaltis battle. Thankfully, this is one we can escape, and we will do so. Ah, there's the mouse. Well, we go to Hope. But what we need from him is actually 4 Phoenix Downs. Now these 6 items in our inventory we are going to sell. Phoenix Downs do sell for the most gil for an item that we can buy for 1 EP anyways. EP is short for Aradia points. They recharge to full every day. But since this is normal percent, Aradia points are somewhat scarce, so we need to be a little conservative with how we use them. Nonetheless, day 1 we go down to Luxarian, and we're thrown to the first side quest right away. Now, because of a mechanic in this game, by escaping a battle you push the clock forward 1 hour. Now, unfortunately, you cannot see it because my timer is blocking, but actually you can see it. It's in the top right corner. First it was 9 o'clock. Once we escape it was 10. We will keep doing this until we reach midnight. So that would be 3 escapes. You can simply attack the guards to push forward this time. You will see I'm also trying to aim for the guards so that they go sort of towards the left side. Reason being is that we want to climb up this ladder right here to get our first buffed attack item, which is our Fighter's Emblem, giving us the plus 15% attack boost. We'll be equipping that a little later, but since we are at midnight, our shops open up. We can sell those 6 items I mentioned previously, and we could sleep into the hotel for the next day. So once again, we will have to do a shop here. We will first talk to Hope, get ourselves 4 Warriors Potions and 1 Phoenix Down. That will use up all our EP. And before we leave, just remember to pick up this new treasure cube. As soon as you finish these mandatory tutorial text boxes from Hope, thankfully they are skippable. We will be using the Liberator and the Juno Shield, though the Red Mage is optional. They come as a bundle, so we will just hold on to it. Garbs cannot be sold in this game. So, next off, we are in day 2, and because we have 0 EP, we don't really have any place to teleport, so we will have to switch back to running. And first destination after sleeping to 2 o'clock is Ruffian. It's Ruffian, we have to run to Luxarian South train station. So before we get there, just be sure to pick up this secondary item, our Magician's Token. This grants us our plus 15% in magic. Slightly useful for the final boss. And it is pretty much on the way, so we pick it up. After that, we talk to this character here to enable our abilities to pick up soul seeds. We need this option in order to actually complete Saz's quest much later in the game. Just a quick chaos tutorial there, we can skip through, get our soul seed right away. If you don't get it here, it's not a problem. Plenty of other chaos spots in the route. That gives you the option to pick one up. And it seems pretty self-evident, but you'll be avoiding encounters when you can help them. The average time loss from getting into an encounter and escaping it back to this overworld is 10 seconds. But now that we are in Ruffian, we commence some more running. Be sure to talk to this guard first, he'll push you a little bit more forward. And our first shop, we will buy a very important garb, the Passion Rouge. We sell our shield and our 1 Phoenix down, giving us 4,600 gil. Our first destination here will be the Ruins North Cactuar statue. Just avoiding the encounters as they come by us. Preferably, when you see this sort of movement Lightning is doing, the sliding down the slope, it is the same speed as running. However, you do get to charge your running ATB at the same time. Having said that, you wish to approach slopes when your running ATB is at minimum. If you're going at maximum speed and you get the free refill, why wouldn't you? This is a mandatory pickup, our first Pilgrim's Crux. We have to collect a total of 4 in this game. After picking this up, we continue northward towards the Grave of Colossi statue and activate that. If you'd like, you could pick up shinies you see on the way. On the low probability that you end up being low on gil, you can sell those at any sort of shop. So now that we've made it to our main teleport hub of Ruffian, we can go ahead and head straight for Adonis now. Adonis will open up the next side quest. But we do not need to complete it just yet. At this stage we are still at 0 EP, so in order to get to the next day, we need to trigger an encounter after 5 AM. So in order to do that, we will get back to our Ruins North statue we've activated earlier and continue on a slightly different path. This time we will pick up our trusty ability Gale Strike, useful for quite a few battles. And if it comes with the attack buff, well, that's just a bonus. Continuing on, you can activate this near God statue and head towards the left here. We are going to run all the way to the Dry Floodlands Shrine and end the day once we pick up that tablet. That little jump you see I do sometimes at the end of slides, that is optional, but it helps you preserve a little bit of your forward momentum. Unfortunately, with how tight the time is in this run, an encounter at a bad location or time in the run can be a complete run ender. So tread warily, be careful. Your runs can die for reasons beyond your control. But that is Lightning Returns. Little bit of a safety measure there to jump over the enemies as they charge towards you. Now we have 2 cruxes at this point and we have just used 1. But with the time being after 5 a.m. and we get this key item, we can now end the day through this encounter. That ends day 2. We do not have to interact with Hope for quite a while now, so every time we get back to the Ark, we simply turn back right into the teleporter. Now we have our ailment garb, but we need our main damage dealer still, and that one is the Velvet Bouncer. That one is located in Euston, so to get there we need to take Luxarian North train station. That is where we can teleport to instantly. You may have noticed I do not use the minimap often. Just a trick to save a few frames here and there, particularly in the Euston area that struggles to load with its assets. But for this first cutscene, just be sure to jump forward. If you do not, the camera will sort of reverse on you, and you will lose a few seconds trying to reorient yourself. But our guild route right now is quite sufficient, so we can head straight for the outfitters and buy our garb. And now that that is complete, we need to push the day forward once more. So we access this hotel, switch, or rather sleep until 5 o'clock. Keynote here, you do need to speak to him as soon as that circular reticle pops up right away. Reason being is that when an enemy spawns beside an NPC, you can no longer talk to that NPC. And there is a monster encounter that is consistent and forced right beside that hotel guy. So you need to be quick. continuing on, we go towards the Augur's Quarter. You see here, I did get the early guard scenario in that the Flaniter and Yusnan guard can spot you early when you jump onto that grass, and when they do, you do not need to go to the corner to sort of let them forget that you exist. Like I mentioned before, when NPCs know there's an enemy on the field, they cannot speak to you. But because I was able to dispel that sighting earlier, I was able to access our gate guy friend over there. Now I am talking a little behind now because a lot has happened at once. Speak to him, you run back towards your bandman. He holds the sneaking ticket, you have to buy that. And with that, we are done in Yusnan. So for the sake of efficiency, before we teleport, we also will do our menu, which is basically equipping Velvet Bouncer and Passion Rouge, plus whatever equipable items we found of use, being the Fighter's Emblem and the Magician's Token. With Yusnan done, we can warp back to Luxarian North Station and take out these guards. These guards only spawn after midnight, but as you could see, the teleport taking 3 EP and the overclock losing another 2, I am back to 0. But because I slept until 5 AM in that Yusnan hotel, I can end the day with an encounter, should I be so lucky. So, after those heretics, we access the phone and come back. If you do not see an encounter on your way back, and you likely won't, the route takes that into account and you can just sleep at the Luxarian Hotel. And that ends day 3. So on our way back, we simply return to previous location because we are going to continue this Luxarian quest right away. In order to do so, we need to push the time to midnight or later, and because we are right outside a hotel, we may as well do that now. We will sleep to 2 AM and go for the phone code side quest. You have to seek out 4 numbers. The first number is 1, 2, or 3. The second number is 4, 5, or 6. The third number is always 0. And the fourth number is 7, 8, or 9. By simply peeking around the corner there, you can spot number 2. In my case, it's hard to see because it was so quick, but that was number 5. So, having known the second and third number, you have a 1 in 9 chance of getting this correct. In this run, I just happened to get it second try. Getting 6 tries or under is pretty average. Having unlocked the gate, we will continue through the graveyard. Take a few shortcuts jumping through these trees. And like before, if you see shinies, you can pick them up. Roughly a second time loss every time you do. Sometimes the enemy spawns in unfavorable locations, so even though we have to take a running detour around, it's mandatory so we don't lose the run. Encounters cost 10 seconds and lose an hour of our time, and our time is quite precious. So after that cutscene, we pick up our Crest of Etro right beside us and teleport back to Luxarian North. We are now ready to face Noel. Noel is the main boss in Luxarian, and once we finish him, we will be largely done with this world. So at this stage we are simply running towards the Warren, taking what shortcuts we can find. Jumping out of rolls there is also a slight time save. If lightning falls too far down on the ground, Shu will sort of roll to cushion her fall. Slower than walking, so it's easier to simply jump out of it and maintain some of your speed. There is mostly only one route to take here. We no longer need to pick up the battle axe weapon. Simply avoid the heretics as best as you can. If you wish to recharge some ATB while falling, just let go of your sprint button. But we get to the boss. Now, we are kind of weak, so we need to play this very specifically. 3 blizzards, 4 thunders, we guard his attacks whenever we can, deprotect twice, and try to pull off another 5 blizzards. Unfortunately, I got a little confused here. Had to guard before I could finish my combo. However, the point is to stagger him, which we have succeeded. After doing so, you will use your 3 Gale Strikes, should be equipped on the Velvet Bouncer. Then you proceed to blitz until you are out of ATB, followed by overclocking and blitzing some more. Now another perk of this route is that the Gale Strike you pick up can be buffed, which can lead to some time saves in almost every single battle. In this case, even though I messed up the official strategy, I was able to break even of my time. 26 seconds is very typical, and you do want this battle to go as perfectly as possible. But having completed that, we can go ahead and pick up his weapon, the Shadow Hunter. This will be useful for staggering enemies more easily throughout the run. And we could immediately warp back to Ruffian. We go here because there is a critical ability we need for this run to be as fast as it is, and that ability is Imperiled. We will be hunting that shortly after a few more side quests. We first start by defeating this Grungach from Adonis's quest. You toss both debuffs on him off Passion Rouge. He should stagger from 5 thunders, 5 blizzards, and 4 blizzards. Be sure to add a warrior's potion onto yourself to improve your damage. Once he's staggered, simply run up to him with your overclock and blitz. Having completed that, it is faster to simply go backwards here and use the statue to warp back into Ruffian, even though this tornado that was blocking our path is gone. We will complete this Adonis side quest and we will no longer have to deal with him. And now we have an extra party member. Slightly useful, but not strictly necessary. We get her for free, so we'll use her as best we can. Now, this critical ability I was mentioning, Imperil, only drops from a single enemy. These are the Desert Sahagins, located in the Dead Dunes. They only spawn before 4 a.m. in the evening. And looking at the time here, we have a roughly 40 in-game minute period to catch them. This stretch of land here between the ruins north statue and the maze underground is our best shot at obtaining Imperil. Unfortunately, this ability has only a 15% chance of dropping, which makes it quite rare. Most of the time, like in that battle, you will see nothing has dropped. You only have the one chance to fight with the overclock. The rest of the opportunities have to be done without, but it is still doable. Simply throw out both debuffs. 1 Thunder and 5 Blizzards will stagger. Blitz is your main damage dealer, so you want to use as much of those as possible.
The scarlet streak of light, to the one that breaks the silence.
Regrettably, this is one of the bad points of the speedrun, and it's evident enough here in that it did not take me 3 tries to get this ability, but 4 tries. That is roughly a minute of time loss. Without this ability, you cannot continue the run. As such, this is the most likely location that the runs die. There it is. And now we could continue to the maze. And because I had to run rightwards here, I did lose a considerable amount of in-game time. In battles, the game time will not progress. Send up from high above, a name like a precious poem. Let me sing the song to you. The strategy for the maze is best observed for yourself. It's tough to describe. When you're starting off, it is easy to get lost. But like before, you just want to avoid the encounters. Now, if the time stayed odd, I would have been able to make it through this door, but I just got cut short. With better luck, anyone can make it. So we lose about 10 seconds taking this roundabout way. In the spirit of avoiding battles, we will jump and clip through these skeletons. Lightning Returns is not a glitch-heavy game, but there are some tricks we like to use. Just like a few days ago, we are planning on ending the day with an encounter once we get past the 5 a.m. mark. So instead of continuing on with the maze here, we will take a break and use the statue to warp somewhere else, namely to get our second tablet. That one is located at the Atmos Shrine. We would like to get the super slide there. Maximal sliding is always ideal. Just simply try and hug the right side and hold forward. It's not too difficult. We have no need to activate any more Cactuar statues. Similar to before, getting an encounter here before the tablet is a run killer. There is not much room for forgiveness in this route. Sometimes this skeleton would trigger the encounter, but if not, we have to manually run around and look for it ourselves. But that ends the day and ends our day 4. We will take a break from Dead Dunes now and instead begin the quests going on in Wildlands. So to get to Wildlands, we can simply warp down to our Dead Dune station and continue from there. Just be a little wary of how the camera orients itself after you teleport. It can be randomized. A little bit of time save here to jump over the banister. Once again pushing you forward better. Now, we have no need to hit up Canopus right away. We can actually head straight for this mini-boss, the Chocobo Eater. So we will make our beeline accordingly. Just like the sea, so many things and trees. OST will be sort of unmatching for the duration of the recording. But you can take a few shortcuts here, jumping over the debris. If I haven't mentioned it before, you want to hit encounters when your running ATB is near empty. Battle here is a little inconsistent. You start off with a blitz and you throw in a warrior's potion so lightning doesn't stagger from the chocobo either punch or bite. Well, once that's complete, you simply throw a single D-Protect and try and use as much blitz as possible. Now, Chocobo Eater can drop two abilities, Blizzara and or Magnet. Each ability has a 20% drop rate, or 22.5% if you want to get technical. To drop both of them is roughly 4% odds, so I did get very lucky here. The run does not require a Blizzara drop, but having a Magnet drop is of paramount importance. There is a backup strategy, but it loses the runner roughly 45 seconds. Having defeated that mini-boss, we can actually go to Canopus Farms now. We'll be coming up to an item here called the Imp's Crest, which also grants plus 15% magic. However, with our major damage being attack-based, we would prefer to hold on to our attack boosting accessories. In this case was Fighter's Emblem and another one called the Wolf's Emblem, which we will pick up in Yusnan when we return. But we have to start off by feeding our bird here two Gazal greens, one from the doctor, one from the farmer girl. Once that's complete, we can engage a different side quest, from whom we learn is Sarala, who will send us on another running journey. Before we head out, we will just pick up this chocobo. This run has exactly enough items to feed the bird into its first flying stage, which is all we need to complete the game. But at this point, we will be running to Yogd Village. If you see shinies by your feet, you can pick them up as well. The best shinies to find here would be actually vegetable seeds. But in this direction I opted to go for the slightly shorter route, in which I hug the trees and the cliff here. As we run through the forest, we will want to pick up 4 fertilizers. To continue the side quest, we must talk to this character, Cole, and we must talk to him twice. You are simply showing your fertilizer, you do still have it in your inventory. Fourth fertilizer will be behind Yogd Village here. After that, we could get back to Canopus, and what faster way than to teleport? Unfortunately, Canopus itself is not a teleport location, so we will have to run over there from the Wildland station. So because we have picked up no vegetable seeds, we will have to engage the Adventuring Essentials character to buy some seeds from him. They are very cheap and they will not affect the gill route at all. In total, to feed the bird, you are going to need 7 gazelle greens, 1 choco bowl, which we've picked up already, and 1 fuzzy sheep milk, which we will get from the hotel automatically. So once we pick up those seeds, we can complete the quest from Sarala. Do have to speak to her several times, but most of the cutscenes are skippable. We now hand over all the fertilizers, so we have 4 spots. And most important here, when you are running on PC version, you will be running on dynamic, which is 60 frames per second. Unfortunately, there is a high probability of your game glitching out at this stage when you're planting the greens. And to avoid that, we simply switch to fixed FPS, which brings it back down to 30, bypassing the glitch entirely. Once that's enabled, we plant our 3, we buy our 2 Enfrost potions from the nearby merchant, head up to the hotel and sleep until 18 o'clock. At this stage you can switch the frame rate back to dynamic just to save a little bit of time, but be sure to re-engage it onto fixed when you are planting this second set after you pick up the first 3 that should have bloomed. Should take 6 hours for them to bloom accordingly. So we first plant 3, then plant 4. I would switch to dynamic frame rate around this point. But we continue to feed the bird until it is in walking condition. And because the bird is much better at running than we are, we will try and use him wherever we go in Wildlands now. First things first, we need to wait for those final greens to bloom. So we will sleep a little more, in this case until 4 a.m. And go ahead and grab these. Now we do need to get him into flying condition right away, so we'll hop off and feed him the last of our items. And we come to another crucial item for the run, our fireworm bracelet. When equipped, this grants us the buffed end fire ability, which means all our attacks will now have additional fire damage associated with them. Now the thing about our previous useful ability, Imperil, it increases all elemental damage by a vast amount. So within fire, every single attack we do, or every physical attack I should say, is also an elemental attack. This is crucial to taking down the bosses fast with our high damage output. Imperil, Deprotect, and Fire, and occasionally an buffed potion. Now, once we pick up that Fire bracelet, as I like to call it, we now have to pick up another item quite far away, but it is mandatory. This item is the Beloved's Gift, way at the end of the road. Simply continue on Odin here. There's no need to pick up anything anymore. If you are missing a soul seed, you could have picked one up back there. There is no reason to activate the warp point to Arya's village, so just try and run towards the left of it. It shouldn't activate. Once we pick up this gift, we must continue our questing in Wildlands, so we will teleport back to Wildlands Station. As soon as we equip some of the goodies that we've received. Velvet Bouncer gets the Fireworm Bracelet. Dark Muse, your middle garb, gets In Peril. And Passion Rouge will get Blizzara and or Magnet if it has dropped. You can equip Shadow Hunter on Velvet Bouncer now, but it could also be saved for later. Though technically weaker than our Liberator weapon, we do need to sell the Liberator weapon later on in Yusnaan to have the proper amount of gil to buy some stronger items. With Odin's running, we never lose running ATB. So the typical run would enter this village and head towards the rear to pick up a Blizzara spell. However, because I have picked it up from Chocobo Eater, I do not have to take that detour. Thankfully, the route is such that picking up the Blizzara is not going to lose you any time particularly. There is enough time until the end of the day at 6 AM to pick up said Blizzara. There will be a treasure sphere outside of this ship we are approaching that has to be picked up before the day ends. We can access it as soon as we speak to Saws. And that would be our first out of 5 fragments we will have to gather. Now normally you would wait around for the day to end here, but because I did get that Blizzara, I do have some extra time. In my case, I'm just running around. The timer should read, you can't see it here, but after picking up that treasure sphere, it would be 5:55. In my case, it was 5:50. Each in-game minute is roughly 2.5 seconds of real time, with each encounter taking about 10 seconds to escape from. If you have only 4 minutes left in the day, you are better off simply waiting around. Now we are going to continue part of the Dead Dunes maze, so we need to warp back to Ruffian there. That is the quickest way to get to a Cactuar statue, which will bring us back into the maze. And so the maze continues. Be sure to pick up a few cruxes on the way. We have so far picked up 2 in the overworld, and we will be picking up 2 in the maze. That was the one. We need to activate these red boxes to open the appropriate door. There is 3 of them in total for this whole maze. We've already activated one a few days ago. We are on day 6. If you get an encounter at this point, it is not a big deal. There is plenty of extra time. But we must take out this side boss now. However, we do have some stronger options on our side, and we will use them. There is no set strategy for this. Simply try and stagger as soon as you can. You are free to use one overclock, and just use Blitz to finish it off. Fang will help you out time to time with some of her attacks assisting stagger, but you can't depend on it. So be sure to pick up this treasure sphere here. This will be useful for Bunavelza in boosting your ailment and item buffs. Actually, I misspoke. There were 3 cruxes we need to pick up. That was number 2. Getting one encounter would push the time forward 1 hour, making this door open just as you were walking towards it. Because I got no such encounter, I opted to simply wait outside the door for a few minutes. The time difference is negligible. But we will continue towards the end here to this second shrine. Once we are finished here, we can head over to Yusnan. Just be sure to pick up these special crux pieces that spawn as soon as the cutscene finishes. Now that we are in Yusnan, we can take care of that beloved's gift we picked up. We have to hand it into any Chocorita from this quest, Key to Her Heart. And that should give us a second dodge fragment out of 5. Shortly thereafter, we will pick up Wolf's Emblem, the additional attack boosting accessory. And we can continue downwards towards the guard. Unfortunately, the door he is blocking doesn't open up until 6 p.m. But thankfully we can push the time directly simply by speaking to him enough times. You can see it is 18 o'clock now. And now we can continue through the industrial area. Regrettably, the pathways here are pretty thin, and it is a high likelihood you will hit some encounters. We do have some leeway here. You can get between 2 and 3, and the run can still survive, but any more than that, you are forced to fight them so you do not lose the hour from escaping. If you escape too much, it becomes too late, and you cannot complete the side quest anymore. Mandatory to continue. In this run I did get 2 encounters on this area. There are 3 typical areas where you would get encounters in Yusnan. This is the first one. We will be in the second one after the Cyclops mini-boss. Sometimes enemies will get in your way, but they won't attack you. A little bit of a hassle. You can see here I've ran out of ATB before hitting the ladder. Bad timing for me, so I am forced to walk a little, losing some more time. But after all that, we get to the mini-boss, which is rather straightforward. Imperil, deprotect, throw out your potion, and simply blitz until he's dead. Because mini-bosses grant you 2 EP after their defeat, and overclocks cost you 2 EP, you do get the free overclock for the battle. Cyclops is the only other monster that can drop magnet for you in the route. So if you did not get it from Chocobo Eater like I did, you can get it here. Thankfully, there were no additional encounters here in the second part of the Yusnan maze. But we'll be plowing through most of this quest on this day. So we just continue as we normally would. We are headed towards the August Quarter now. In the hopes we can complete the fireworks quest. So we simply head up these stairs to talk to Sarzak first to begin our fireworks quest. You should have picked up the ID from a couple of glowing skeletons in the second Yusnan maze part. I didn't mention specifically. But once we talk to Sarzak and this fireworks chief, we can teleport back to Yusnan and start collecting our fireworks. If you got the magnet from Cyclops earlier, you can equip it at this stage before you teleport, as well as throwing the Shadow Hunter onto Liberator if you did not unequip it before. But we get our 2 fireworks here out of a total of 10. We will engage this additional side quest to pick up 5 fireworks. Just need to fight this character first. Imperiled, you protect, and 5 blitzes should make short work of him. If he dodges, you still have some ATB on your side. But with this route you can actually run backwards. Run right past our side quest friend Funicula there. Do not speak to him. You are actually going to steal those fireworks. Our total count should be at 7 now, so we are going to talk to one more fireworks worker for the last 3, which is right here. And then we continue back to August Quarter. But with 0 EP, there is not much we could do with regards to fighting, so we will have to sleep until the next day. Though you cannot speak to NPCs when enemies see you, you can access inanimate objects just fine. So we start by returning to our fireworks chief to hand in all 10. And we go back to Sarzak to confirm. He will send us on the next part of our side quest, which is to fight in Slaughterhouse. However, like I mentioned, we don't have the ability to fight fast, not without Aradia points. Fortunately, we do have a hotel right outside this August Quarter. Try to touch the rear wall in order to despawn the enemy sighting. Otherwise, you cannot speak to this hotel manager. as we warp down now, it will be day 7. Simply returning to previous location is fastest. However, the slaughterhouse only opens up in the evening, so we will simply speak to the hotel guy once more and sleep until 19. And continue our running. It is very unlikely that the guards or flaniters will hit you, but tread warily. Before we tackle the slaughterhouse, we want to buff up our attack, so we will buy a very strong sword and 2 shield supplements. But we can only do that once we get enough gil. Roughly 20,000 is enough, which can be obtained by selling Liberator and one of our swords. We use that to buy our Kikuichi Monji, which goes on Velvet Bouncer, and 2 Dragon Gauntlets, also going on Velvet Bouncer, and our next garb. At this stage you can switch the now unequipped Shadow Hunter onto Passion Rouge. It will help you with staggering later on. With our first slaughterhouse battle is fairly rudimentary. Magnet the gremlins if you have them. If you don't, just keep blitzing until you take them all out. Second battle is buffed Anubis. It's a little dependent on his actions, but you want to debuff, get a little damage here and there, but you have to wait until he attacks you, so you could instantly stagger, simply by guarding his attack at the right time. You continue to blitz at that point, as you are inflicting more damage. We have 2 more battles to go, and both are identical. This is a special Xaltis. So you need to be very specific here with your actions. In peril, deprotect 5 thunders. You can guard cancel 3 Blizzaras, guard cancel again, 3 blizzards, and you may as well toss out that Infrost potion we bought back. And you can blitz a few times. 1 overclock allowed per Xaltis. And that takes him out. Simply continue to skip the text as you see fit. And this additional Xaltis fight will grant us a 3rd dodge fragment. But the exact same strategy. And what is also important is that now we have the garb we need to continue the side quest. Midnight Malv, that will be our garb number 2, replacing Dark Muse. Just be sure to equip it before you reach the Augur's Quarter. This garb can also take out, well, take up, I should say, the Shadow Hunter. Helps in staggering snow. Passion Rouge no longer needs it. A little mess up with the menu there, but Kikuichi Maji stays with Velvet Bouncer for sure. And you also want to make a Midnight Malve your default. However, before we talk to Sarzak to continue the quests here in Yusnan, we have a pretty empty inventory right now, and with a bit of extra gil, let's increase our damage ability. We are going to now buy 5 bravery potions from the shop down here. If you don't have enough gil, you can sell your medals that you obtained from the slaughterhouse. 5 potions is sufficient. Sarzak will push the time for us automatically towards 3 AM, rather close to the end of the day. Having said that, you are only allowed 1 escape while traversing through Snow's Palace. Similar to before, there is mostly only one route you can take. On the off chance you haven't picked up a soul seed yet, you can pick one up here. The beginning of the maze is identical to what we've encountered in the tutorial. Simply have to avoid more enemies. After we warped back from the hotel, we had a full 6 EP with us. We've used 4 on the Zaltises in Slaughterhouse, and we will use these last 2 with an overclock on the next sort of a mini boss battle. The camera here is very tricky to control. Once we get through this gate, you have to start activating red switches to continue through. Now, there is a dandy skip we could take here, sometimes called the snow skip, or the box skip, or the maze skip. But after you get on top of this second one, you can jump directly to the switch. Saves about 10 seconds, maybe 15. We will get into a forced shop here, but there is nothing to buy. So we simply need to close out of that, continue on. Preferably you want to reach these ladders with low ATB. Similar to sliding in Dead Dunes, it will quickly replenish while you are climbing up. You see, at that stage I was a little too close to the wall and ended up pushing off, losing some time. But with this last gate here, we are coming up to the mini-boss. In this case, it is 2 buffed Anubises. Strategy is straightforward. Debuff both, buff yourself, and use Blitz. You can see the Bravery, which increases attack, and the End Fire over the CK of Overclock. You can guard them if you wish. Occasionally they will drop off the ability Heavy Strike, and if it is buffed it could come with a plus 130 attack, similar to how occasionally runs have a Gale Strike with plus 80 attack. Should you get that, it is recommended you equip it just before the boss Snow. More damage is good damage. Now, because I did not get an encounter previously, I am forcing the one here. Because I am out of EP, and I want the day to end. With good running, the day will end just outside the door. But we access the door to engage the boss, we debuff, and be sure to guard his punch first and foremost. You can buff yourself now, and cast Imperil repetitively until he uses his counter drive move. Once you guard that, you can overclock and toss 3 Furas. That should stagger. Sometimes it does take 4. You are allowed to use 2 overclocks this battle, but it should take less than 30 seconds. With that done, there is one more item that we have not picked up in Dead Dunes, so we can teleport back there, as defeating a boss fully replenishes our EP. This will be our 3rd tablet. Unfortunately, when enemies spawn inside a doorway, it is almost impossible to avoid them. Thankfully, we are freely... well, we are free to lose some time here from pushing the time back 1 hour. Reason being is that after teleporting twice with 6 EP, we are empty. We are going to want to, as such, move the day to the next. To do that, I will be accessing a hotel and sleeping late. In this case, after getting that 3rd tablet, I can teleport to Yard Village, get on my trusty steed, and trot towards Polta. We are going to complete the Caius quest in Wildlands. After this innkeeper here lets us sleep until 4, we have to pick up some more elemental potions. And fire is good for many battles, but not all of them. Some we will have to augment with something else. One boss requires an arrow for sure. And frost is more of a backup potion. And the second arrow would be for the final boss himself. Now this jumping puzzle I do slightly riskier. In order to save some time, I take some shortcuts with jumping these rocks. But we get to what may be the most difficult maze in the game. Many difficult jumps, and the enemies can hit you very, very easily. And when enemies hit you, you lose time, which we do not want. Thankfully, at some point we do want the day to end, and even once the day returns to us, we will not lose the run simply by getting into too many encounters. We can escape from every single one. So let's move forward. Do not hold the running button too much while jumping on these platforms or you will fall down. There is too much horizontal movement compared to the space allotted from the platform. Sadly, this is where you will get the most encounters in your typical run. Thanks to ecto puddings, they have the greatest range, so they will likely hit you if they see you. Other times, they won't, and you could just run by them. Be aware that you will also fall prey to the enemies around the NPC's weakness and that you cannot speak to her if she realizes an enemy is near. Because of that one encounter, the day will end shortly. Just to play it safe, I will wait a bit here. If it ends while you are in midair, you could fall straight down, quite far down in this vertical maze. Now there is another dandy skip we could go for. Some call it the Kaya skip, temple skip, but with a precise jump you can jump this way and speak to Yule immediately. Saves about 7 seconds. And I believe in this run there were the only 2 pudding encounters. Your average run will have between 2 and 3 in this Kaya's temple. There is not much strategy going on here. Avoid the encounters, go through the maze. There is nothing mandatory to pick up. If you did not pick up Magnet, you would have to end up picking up Eroga, which unfortunately I did not catch on this run. Before the cutscene here, you want to enter it with empty ATB, since your running will be fully refreshed. Now, this battle is pretty fast, but you need to be very technical as well. You throw in 2 Imperils, 2 Deep Protects, a Bravery Potion. At around that point you do need to overclock, and you want to keep blitzing as much as you can. What's critical is that you finish him off before he casts Mega Flare. Without a buffed ability, this is very difficult and you may be forced to guard. With buffed ability, you can defeat this boss in under 20 seconds. Be sure to use only the 2 overclocks. With that done, we can pick up the weapon. We can equip it right away. It is very good. It goes on Midnight Mauve, while Passion Rouge can get back her Shadow Hunter. And we can actually head straight for the next boss now. But before we do that, we do need to sleep until 5. After doing such, we can access the shop here to pick up some better weapons, namely the Wyvern Lance and the Pendragon Shield. Wyvern Lance will eventually replace our Shadow Hunter for the endgame, and Pendragon Shield will replace the default shield we have equipped on Passion Rouge right now. So we simply head here for our 3rd shrine, our last crux piece, and now we have all the ingredients we need to take on the main boss of Dead Dunes. This boss isn't so much tough as he is annoying, since many of his attacks can incidentally launch you. Having the Chaos Revenge and Passion Rouge's Shadow Hunter equipped, you can stagger him in 7 raw spells. So this would be 2 fires, 2 Dvizaras, and 3 fires. Just have to wait for this protective circle animation to finish. Sometimes he will punch you like that. But once he's staggered, you are free to debuff him. Just remember to use both an arrow and bravery potions on yourself. And on this battle too, you are allowed to use 2 overclocks for your blitz. If I haven't mentioned it now, the most damage output you can do is 1 blitz, then the overclock, then you continue your blitzes, which should last another 8. With this battle finished, we could warp out of here, but be sure to walk backwards through this doorway first, just to avoid a cutscene. And because it is late in the day, the Moogle village is open up, so let's finish a side quest there. That is also required for the Saw's main quest in Wildlands. Take a few shortcut jumps with our trusty friend here. Even though I'm on low HP right now, the upcoming mini battles are not really a major concern. Just be sure to avoid a fly here. Sadly, that would result in a game over. At our current stats, it would be quite difficult to fight one of those flies. Talk to this central Mog here with the 1 star. And we will have to start fighting some Dryads. Thankfully, they are weak to fire, and we are styling our Fireworm Bracelet. So, in peril, to protect 3 blitzes, should get rid of them. For the triple fight, because we have enough AP left over, you are free to overclock and just blitz 7 times. Similar strategy to way back when we were fighting the Heretics in Luxarian. Magnet at this stage is also helpful in that you can group these characters together and take them out with 3 blitzes once they are both debuffed. Normally your trusty steed would be around here to jump on and you can ride to the center. For some reason this run he did not show up, so I did have to run. Thankfully there was enough time. You do need to speak to this Mog an additional time here in the corner before the day ends in order to continue. If your luck is very bad, you can use a chronostasis to delay the time, but ideally the day should end on its own. That Moogle fragment we've obtained is required to get another dodge fragment. Our 5th and final one. However, we only have 3. So to get our 4th, we need to think back to the reason we were picking up soul seeds. After exchanging for a soul seed, you are able to also exchange your Moogle fragment. And we could do so at the Magician Grill right here. The gill is not important. And it's conveniently located to our hotel, which we will also push towards as late in the day as possible. We do have full EP, but we are about to use it all. For the 5th fragment is found in another mini-boss in Dead Dunes, the Cactuar. This is the battle where having Magnet is very useful. Each damage dealt to Cactuar is only 1, and Magnet happens to do continuous 1 damage. We will see that in play shortly. This is the last place we use our Pilgrim Crux as well. Simply overclock and hold down the Magnet button. Might take a few extra hits towards the end. Getting hit once is pretty typical. but now we wish to end the day, so we will find ourselves an encounter and escape. It is at this stage we can actually go back to Hope and pick up some nice items. You want to buy only 2 Heroes Potions, because there is still one place we will have to teleport ourselves to. Having defeated the Cactuar, we have now all 5 Dodge Fragments. We can hand it into Saz and be finished with Wildlands. That is the last world that we have to finish our quests on before we could reach the end game. Simply find our bird and continue onward. With our 3 EP, we wish to find another hotel, and the closest one from our teleport point is the one after Luxurian North. Simply sleep to the end of the day. We have one more day that we need to kill. We have finished all our quests, but the endgame doesn't open until after day 13. So what are we going to do with all this extra EP that we can't use in battles or teleporting? We will use it to buy some nice items. We will be buying 4 Heroes Potions, 2 EP each. For one more day, we will go to sleep. And on this final trip to the Ark, there are some crucial things we still must do. There are two treasure cubes that have appeared we must pick up. One will contain decoy, right beside the ramp here, and 2 cubes down are 3 important garbs, 2 of which we will use. Equilibrium Plus and Dark Muse Plus for our physical damage. We can equip those now. You can observe the menu here for yourself, a little sloppy, but any attack buffs go on Dark Muse. Be sure Equilibrium Plus has an Aurora. If you did not get the Aurora drop from the Dryads, you can equip a Thunder as a substitute. You no longer need Magnet, so that can simply become a guard. Collector Catalog goes on Passion Rouge. Pick your favorite default garb. And off you go for one final mission. Your first battle you will be facing are Super Guards. Now there is a specific strategy you want to use for these guys. If you let them stick around for too long, they will call upon copies of themselves, making the fight much slower. You want to prevent that. To do so, you will get into Overclock, toss out 3 Blizzaras and 2 Heavy Slashes. That will confuse this first one, who's trying to call backup. Once he's confused, you can focus your attention on the second one with simple debuffs and attacks. Potion is optional. You're better off saving it for the final boss, though. Sometimes these guys will drop you something good. It could be another buffed attack ability. Should you see that, feel free to equip it before the final boss. But you come to the final maze of the game here. Very straightforward. There is nothing you need to pick up anymore. Just avoid your encounters. You are free to escape because time is no longer a factor. Your typical final boss battle would take less than 4 minutes to complete, but it is the most difficult fight of the game. I cannot do it enough justice to explain what is going on. Just to put it very simply, you want to keep the debuffs on, keep your buffs on yourself. You wish to do as much attacks as you can. After you stagger him, well, first let's get to this Chimera. Buff yourself, debuff him, try and get him staggered. Blizzaras and arrows are not very effective. But as soon as you hear that crash of stagger, you want to engage your overclock and actually walk behind him. He will take additional damage when you attack the rear side. Back to the final boss. Even though you will have 8 EP at the end of it, by using 1 overclock here, 1 on the guards, and none on the upcoming mini battle, you will return to 8. we are going to have to make use of that decoy cube we bought. But before then, let's just take out these guys, debuff them, buff yourself, attack. These are the last characters that can drop something good for you. Could be a buffed attack ability, could even be a weapon, but no luck this run. There is one final shop, which is optional, but I do like to take it for safety's sake. Talking to the Mog, you can buy 2x potions and a Phoenix down. That will fill out your inventory slot nicely, making this final boss much safer. I will cease most of my speaking for the microphone for the final boss. Hopefully you can enjoy the final battle. Just remember to decoy on phase 2, because the trick about PC is that dynamic frame rate means the decoy glitches. It falls through the floor, the boss can barely hurt you anymore, and you are free to attack him at will. So let's hop to it.
If I kill the god of light, I become the goddess of death.
I must try and reach your words as a goddess.
This 3 potion strat is required now. Run out your ATB before you overclock. Good phase 1.
You have proven yourself, but the real battle is merely beginning.
So,
There goes our decoy.
This'll do. Our future belongs to us. I will win, even if it kills me.
You can see me trying to back away there, but I either ran back or wasn't far enough, so I did still take some damage from Wall of Destruction, or Wings of Destruction. Also, regrettably, I did get the worst element from Bonavelza. But because I chose to use an arrow potion, I can still deal damage.
We're taking the new world.
Resist no more. Come to your god. A new goddess is born.
Fighting the goddess of death now.
Often, Wings of Destruction can kill you, so the Phoenix down the next potions really help there.
Chaos will be your grave.
Be sure to attack him with a heavy slash post stagger in this phase.
We're taking the new world.
Sometimes he will dodge your attacks. So, final phase, you just need to throw out all your staggering capabilities. Gale strikes work okay. You want to toss out your triplicate Raws. Auroras, Blizzaras rather. If you can't triplicate, then duplicates are also okay. Stagger, debuff, and sadly, you can still dodge you occasionally. Just confirm that your buffs are in fact on. Because I could not overclock for quite a while, my HP is a little low at this stage.
Chaos will be your grave.
But that's the final boss. And that is Lightning Returns normal percent. This is D-Wins signing off.